Is the Red Cat Shredder shredding your differentials? Want to know why? Want to find out how to permanently fix this problem once and for all? Stay tuned. We're going to show you how to bulletproof this beast.
Just get those wonderful toys.
Welcome back to the channel, everybody. We have got a great one for you today. We have a bone stock out of the box Red Cat Shredder right here, and we are going to show you what plagues these differentials, why they keep breaking, and the 3 problems that plague this particular machine and its differentials, and the 3 solutions that we have come up with here on the channel. And we are going to finally transform that out of the box shredder into this bulletproof beast that you have seen on the channel. And we're going to do it all with just a few items. As you can see, we've got some differential fluid, we've got some shims, and everything else can probably be found in a hardware store or garage. Let's get right into it and show you how to do it right. Alright guys, let's get right into it. Let's look at this shredder diff problem through another set of eyes today. Alright, so what we have here is we have a Red Cat Shredder chassis. And I want to point out a few things that people may or may not know about this chassis. But as you can see, it's kind of incomplete up at the front where it's not in the back. So why they left out this piece of aluminum, I'm not sure, but it is definitely one of the problems with your differentials. Just stick with me. I promise you guys, if you make it all the way through this video, you will know how to bulletproof your shredder, and you will be saving time and money on your differentials. So let's look at the other part of the chassis. As you can see, this aluminum brace bar right here that's kind of incomplete with this plastic piece here. Let's take a look at what happens when you go off one of your jumps. You see that flex right there? That is with very little effort, and that is just putting tons of pressure on the spider or sun gear that's inside your differentials, and it is absolutely shredding them. It's really, the biggest part of this is the frame, but that's only one problem. Here we have a stock, never used center differential, and as you can see, if you've ever just kind of taken the pressure on one of these, the fluid in there is not only lacking, but it's not thick enough. That's where you get your one tire ballooning, or your front tires ballooning and your rear tires not getting enough grab. It's happening right here. We are going to show you how to thicken up this fluid and get all that aside here. Let's take a look at our differential. Now this is a universal differential. It can be used on the front or the back. This is a hardened differential from the factory, but I want to show you guys something. These diff housings are very weak, and when they heat up, they tend to flex a lot, and that is where that brace bar comes in. If you ever taken one of these drive shafts and just turned it and felt a little bit of binding right there, a little bit of binding right there, well, if you take some of the pressure off this bulkhead and pull this drive shaft out just a little bit, or this out cup, it's smooth as silk. None of that classic binding that we all hate in our differentials. But if you push in as if you're going off of a jump or putting stress on that chassis, you're gonna feel that bind all through the entire differential. So part of that chassis brace is keeping this housing true, and it works in conjunction with the shims we're going to show you and the differential fluid that's going to keep the power going to the wheels that you want it to. Now, we're going to be using these Goblin shims. I'm gonna show you the part number right there. Now, why these shims? I don't know if you guys have ever seen a Goblin helicopter, but it is doing some crazy stuff. And in order for it to do some crazy stuff, it has to have some really sure, hard shims in there that aren't going to buckle, they're not going to crinkle like some shims do over time. I have used a lot of different shims. This is what I have come to the conclusion of that is holding up, and this metal in here stays true and it doesn't collapse on itself. It's really good stuff, guys. This is what I recommend using, as well as it's going to fit that inner shaft on the differential just perfect. Now, you're going to need some 500 weight silicone differential fluid. This is going to be for our center differential, and I've come up with these different weights by destroying mini differentials. Now, you can put a thicker weight into your center diff, but this is all about friction and resistance. And remember, we are dealing with somewhat of a weak differential. So you don't want to thicken it up too much. You want to have just a little bit of give, and that's where this meets that, that criteria right there. Now, I personally like the 50K in the front and the back. I believe we've tried all the way up to 100K and it works. So I like the 50K because I use my shredder to do a little bit of racing, and I like to have just a little bit of a give in those front differentials, but not too much. We don't want to shred it. So, all right, and that comes to our last piece right here. This is our radioactive bash bar for the shredder. This measures 19 3/8 on the dot, and this is just 1/2 inch aluminum stock that you can get at any hardware store. Very simple. What you'll need is a hacksaw to cut this at 19 3/8. You're going to need 2 washers. As you can see right there, these are 3/8 washers. And you're going to need 2 screws, bolts, that are 3/8 in diameter. You can find these at any hardware store. This is the length that I have chosen, but I think you could probably get away with probably half that length. As you can see, I've put a little bit of electrical tape on here. You're going to see why we've done that when we put on our bash bar, because we're going to show you an easy way to do it. Not everybody has access to a metal shop like the Radioactive RC Ranch, so we want to make sure that you can do this at your home, in your garage, do-it-yourself style, and still get it done. So that is what we're going to be using. Let's go ahead and get rid of the Red Cat Shredder chassis, and we will start bulletproofing our differentials. If you guys have made it this far in the video, you guys are definitely about saving your time and money, and it's all about smiles per hour for you guys. So let me show you what we've done to this shredder already. We've replaced the plastic spur gear with a steel spur gear. We have done the recommended shock change. If you are curious about these are from the Traxxas Max, the Max, not the X Max. It is, the Max has all 4 same shocks, and it will work out perfectly for this. So we have changed out the servo, and as you can see, we have added some T-bone onto the back there, and we've got some T-bone on the front. Highly recommended on any car. Really love T-bone's products, and I think it does the job. So let's get right into it. I want to make mention and show you guys these. This is the one thing I didn't mention earlier. We have got a 4mm interior diameter, small little 1/2 inch plastic spacer. Now what you're going to do is you're going to cut this right in two, and you're going to place one on this side and one on this side to bring this body mount out just a little bit. If you guys are curious as to the width, as you can see, it is just about the width of an eraser on a pencil. So what this is going to do is it's going to help your body get refitted to its new slightly stretched upper part of the chassis, and it's going to make sure that you measured everything correctly in your bash bar. So, all right, guys, we're going to start taking it apart. All right, guys, first of all, we're going to do the center diff here. You're going to need to remove 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 screws. So let's get it done. We do not want to touch this motor mount or remove this motor in any way, shape, or form. If you guys are curious about that, you need to go back and review my how to bulletproof in 6S, a Red Cat shredder. We go over all that. Unless you're changing the motor mount on this, leave it be. You will regret it. All right, let's take the screws out. All right, now that we got those screws out, we should be able to just kind of unlodge this flimsy, less than adequate plastic piece out. All right, should come out just like so. All right, let's set that aside. All right. Now what we need to do is we need to get these differential braces off, which is going to require us to take out these 6 screws. So let's get it done. Just need a 2.0.
Ice in my veins, I've been driving this train. Years in this lane, there's no stop.
All right, let's flip it back over. And should be able to pull that right out, just like that. Just kind of comes out at an angle. Make note of how the spur gear sits, and if you have to, take a picture. All right, guys, here we got it. Now, something I didn't mention is we had gotten in this differential when we replaced this spur gear before the customer decided that he wanted to 6S it and get everything shimmed and bulletproofed, braced. So as you can see, there is a lot of resistance in there, but a little bit of slip. This has got the 500 weight oil, and let's open it up and take a look.
This train, years in this lane, there's no stopping this flame, cause I came to the game and I changed it to play how I like.
All right, guys, we are in. Let's take a look. As you can see, never been run. Absolutely beautiful in there. Let's get down to business. And our business is with this part of the differential. So what you want to do is you want to remove this sun or spider gear right here, and it comes off very easily, just like so. We'll put that aside, and we've got our pin right here. We're going to take that right out. And we're gonna open our package up here. Now this package comes with 5 shims. You'll only need 3. There they are. If you're curious about where I got these, I think A-Main sells them. There's our 3. We'll put them down here. All right, guys. We're going to fit it right there. Okay. Very easy. Now remember, the reason for this thickness is because it applies just enough pressure on the spider or sun gear onto those planetary gears that allows it to not slip, to not grind, but you don't want to put too much pressure because that is just as bad. So that is the reason why we've come to these measurements and why this setup works so well. So there we have it right there, and let's start our reassembly. You want to be real careful not to mess that gasket up. I also recommend, guys, you do not use power tools with the shredder. The plastic cannot handle it. So I tend to use hand tools.
Rearranged it to my own domain. Yeah, I got what it takes. Made lots of mistakes, taking shots, skipping breaks, feeling lost, feeling great, popping off, singing straight, never stopped, never changed. All the squad here to play.
All right. Make sure to test your differential. Move it back and forth. It should feel tighter in there. It should feel like everything is nice and snug and not going anywhere. So, all right, there you have it. Let's get it reassembled. It might make it easier if you twist the cups and the drive shafts in the same direction. Make sure you're not wiggling those drive shafts out of place.
6 a.m. and I'm up again. I got tired eyes, need a cup of blend. That's right, in the AM, that's my only friend. No light.
There's a couple notches. Once you feel those notches in place, then take your support and kind of work it in there. It too has some notches. Get that all fastened and clicked into place. And now we turn it over. And put our chassis screws back in.
I've got something to say, yeah. I work hard each and every day. I get lost in the words I say.
All right. Let's flip it back over. And let's get everything complete.
I don't push pause, no, I push play. I won't stop till I make a change. I withdraw on the things I make. I turn flaws into flawless traits. I build tall, never capped in space. I won't stop till I hear him say,
All right, guys, that concludes the center differential. Center diff, let's start taking it apart. We've got 2 screws right here. We've got 4 screws underneath. We need to remove these 2 shock eyelet screws, and then we need to remove these two right here. So let's get it done. While we're doing that, why don't you guys comment down below as to what got you into RC, or possibly what drew you to the Red Cat shredder in the first place. You know, what drew me to the Red Cat shredder is the power to weight. You know, I mean, you got the X-Max and the K8 and some of the other big ones to bash hard, but I really like the power to weight ratio out of this machine. So I'm sure everybody else has their reasons, but those are mine, and I decided I was going to figure out a way to make this work. So if you guys are just curious why, I'm just a big kid with too much time on his hands, and I like to play with toys. So sometimes you just gotta figure out what's the problem and just make them better. These guys are the worst bolts on the entire shredder. I hate having to pull these bolts out by hand.
AM and I'm up again. I got tired eyes, need a cup of blend. That's right, in the AM, that's my only friend. No light, just the sun coming up on the horizon. I lose track of time, yeah, I move fast and climb a new
2 hours later. Holy cow, that's a lot of work. All right, so now that we've gotten down to this point, we need to remove the shock tower.
A new class divine, yeah, true passion shines, and I'm through passing time.
This is kind of a good technique. If you got a odd screw, just put it back in the piece so it's ready to be put back together. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to remove a couple screws. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 screws to remove to get down to the diff, so let's get to it.
I turn flaws into flawless traits. I build tall, never capped in space. I won't stop till I hear him say, oh, oh.
Bulkhead brace right there, and here is what we're after, guys. What I try to do is leave the lower half of the bulkhead in, and there we have the top off. Note the side of the gearing, and we are going to pull this guy out. Nice and greased. Alright guys, carefully pull this guy apart. Nice, beautiful, clear diff fluid in there. This is 50K. And at this point, that's where I would be putting in the 50 or 100K, depends on your type of driving for the front or the rear differentials. All right, guys, this is the business end. This is what we're interested in. Make sure to keep your gasket straight. You see the holes going through it right there. What you're going to do is you're going to give it a little push. Just going to pull your spider gear out here. Alright. And we're going to take our pin out. And in goes our goblin shim. Right there, we'll just kind of center it up. And there's our pin. All right, really important, you want to make sure that that is as centered as possible. Get your pin as centered as possible and put your spider gear back together. We are already putting this back together, guys. Make sure that your holes line up on that gasket. You don't want to tear it. Actually, I think while we're in here, we're just going to top this off just a little bit with some differential fluid there. 50K. All right, just topping it off a little.
Hey, I got something to say. I'm just so sick of hearing everyone complain. I know it's tough and I know there's pain, but hitting bottom is the only way to change. So I'll keep hustling, you keep struggling, bitch, I'm
Let's try it out. Should rotate the opposite way. Should have a lot of nice resistance, should feel tight. Shouldn't be any play in the cup. There you go. If you don't feel any play in that cup there, you know you've done the job right. All right, so let's place that diff back in its home. I think it's going to be a lot easier if we screw this bulkhead back together before we start reassembling it.
I'll keep doubling, you keep bluffing, you've got nothing, I'll keep hustling.
Okay, so here comes the tricky part. We gotta get this in here and get that drive shaft connected. Let's see if we did it. It does not look like it's in there. Let's pull it out here. All right, success. We are in there. See those cups turning? And the same direction that the back tires are. So you know you've done the job right. All right. All right, guys, there is our bulkhead all put back together. Making sure rotates the right way. All right, so now we're ready to start reassembly of the shock tower. There we go. All right, let's get our drive shafts in place there. All right, make sure that they're in the cup. And we're going to start the painful process of putting this bolt back in place.
I've seen what thirst is. I've had a taste of evil and tried to cure the sickness, but I just keep my head down and focus on the facts. I'm setting down gravel while you just follow the path. I'll lead them into battle while you're just too scared to act. I'll leave the knife right in my back. So I'll keep hustling, you keep struggling, bitch.
Now what we got to do is get our T-bone bumper back on, and we will be in business. Put together. We're almost there. Front diff. All right, guys, we've already removed the bolts for the wing. You've got 2 bolts right here. You've got 2 bolts right here. And you have 2 bolts going in right here. So those bolts have already been removed. Now that we're at this point, let's get these shocks down. Okay, now we have our dreaded long screws to pull out.
I don't really know what comes next. I'm just doing my best, even though I'm so stressed out. Everything just feels like a test that I fail, so depressed when I can't seem to get out. But something deep inside won't let me quit. I swear that I'm inspired by all this shit. Tell me that I can't.
Alright, the other side is done. Alright guys, please don't tell me in the comments that I can use a drill or a gun to get this out. I know this. There's a reason I do this with these plastics, and if you've worked with Red Cat long enough, you know too. These plastics are absolute garbage. You have to be gentle, and that's exactly what we're doing. So now we've got our diff exposed, so let's get into it. Brace. Alright. We got it settled in there. Okay. So let's get to our diff. Alright, while we're in here, we're just going to top it off just a little bit. It's already got a lot in there. Alright. We're going to put this guy down here. Tons of grease on that. I greased it up well last time I was in here. Alright, so let's pull out spider gear here. Make sure you're keeping your holes lined up. All right, let's take our pin out. We've got our goblin shim in there, just like so. Put it right down there on top of the factory shim. All right, make sure that everything is centered up like that, and adjust your gasket where it is not going to tear. Looks like we got it good there. You want to fit your spider gear on there. Make sure it's in the center. Sometimes easier said than done. All right, we've got it together. Let's put it together right here. All right. Looks good. We're gonna put our diff on it. Our gear here.
I'm inspired by thirst, I'm inspired by worth. I desire your worst, so you can just hide while I work. I ain't tired, you first. I'll write a second, third verse about the lies you go disperse. You never did shit, I know it hurts.
Alright, let's take a look. Look at that. Beautiful. I wish you guys could feel how tight and smooth this is. It is butter smooth. So let's get it back in here and get on with our evening, shall we? Now, we've already greased this up real good. Otherwise, this is where you would want to put a nice layer of grease in there to catch any dirt and debris. And you only want to get in here one time. Believe me, guys, this is a job. This is going to be a long video, and this is a lot of work. So make sure to get everything greased up in here while you're in here. All right, guys, let's start the reassembly process. In my opinion, the back is a lot easier than the front. Alright, we've got our shock tower on. Starting to come together. I can't tell you guys how much I hate this screw, but it's got to be done by hand.
I wanna taste the pain. I think I'm seeing all red. 2 bullets in the gun, 1 shot to the head. I need a blank space. 'Cause everything is a threat, but I never back down. Man, I'd rather be dead. I'm making love to face. She look better.
Let's get a couple screws in that wing mount. We'll hold that solid.
Love to face. She look better in bed. Never rock this life till I take my last breath. I wanna make a change. I got 1 life left, so I'm gonna go down swinging. Don't you forget. Everything is so boring. Can't get up in the morning. I'm so sick of the mundane and routine.
Problems, guys, but when you work through them, which is not an easy process, at least on the experimental level, you end up costing yourself a fortune in differentials and weekends. So I really hope that this bulletproofing project turns out well for you.
Gonna break without warning. I wanna taste the pain. I think I'm seeing all red. 2 bullets in the gun, 1 shot to the head. I need a blank space. 'Cause everything is a threat, but I never back down. Man, I'd rather.
You guys will like these Traxxas Max shocks. Again, not X Max, but the Max. And if you guys look closely in there, there's another set of springs. I believe those are 3S springs. I can't remember out of what, but a lot of different things work in this. So, all right, guys, we're almost there. Hang in there. Hang in there. We've got to put on our bumper yet. Rear diffs done. All right, guys, the bash bar. This video has taken so long, my fire is now out. So before you guys get any further in this, I want to make sure that you guys know that there is another video that explains the do's and the don'ts with this shredder. Doing the diffs and the brace bar is the hard part, but there's other parts to this, like not changing the tire, not changing the motor or pinion, etc. You should check out this video before you do this project. All right, guys, the bash bar. We have our bash bar. It's cut to 19 3/8. We've got our washers. We've got our spacers installed already, so our body will be ready to be fitted. So let's get into it. Basically, what you're going to do is you're going to place this bash bar in here, and we are going to squeeze it in with the washers on the end, and let's show you how to do that. The front right there, it is right here in this center. What you're going to do is put that washer in front of the bash bar, just like that. You're going to take one of your 3/8 bolts that you have already used some tape or Teflon tape, plumbing tape, and you want to really stretch it over just the top part of the bolt. You see, this is all bare yet. So what we're going to do is that's going to create just enough friction to hold it in there. Remember, this bolt isn't providing anything to this bar except keeping it from moving sideways, up and down. There's going to be enough pressure on this to hold this in place. It's going to have a positive pressure, so this bolt doesn't do anything but just hold it in place. So you just want it to be snug in there. It will go in. It's going to be a snug fit, but that's what we want. All right. And that's the other side of it. All right. So there you have it. Now, let's deal with the back.
Got one life left, so I'm gonna go down swinging, don't you forget.
Take our tape, and we're going to work our next bolt. Just kind of push it in there, and we have our bolt right there, and we have our brace bar in place, guys. Let's take a look at it. Heck yeah, guys. All right, guys. If you've made it this far through the video, 2 thumbs up for you. Let's take a look at how these differentials sound versus how they sound out of the box. Everybody's heard that classic out of the box grind when you get one of these shredders. So let's take a listen. Very smooth, very even. There you have it, guys. Bulletproofing a Red Cat shredder. If you've made it this far through the video, you're about to save a lot of time and a lot of money on your Red Cat shredder differentials. We appreciate your watching. Hopefully you guys learned something, you saw something. Hopefully you'll pass it around and let them know where you guys saw this on the Radioactive RC Ranch, bulletproofing a Red Cat shredder from A to Z, stock out of the box, making it into a monster, a bulletproof monster. The customer is going to be very, very happy. I am so happy to have you guys. We love having you guys on the channel. Let everybody know where you guys saw this. And hopefully you guys have many smiles per hour out of your Red Cat shredder in the future. We will see you radio heads next time.